Hey, all you wanderlusters and hometown heroes. This is Remain, Rome, Return, a podcast that pits your hometown lifestyle against the allure of far-off frontiers. In the show, we are going to try to settle the age-old debate on whether it is better to be the local legend or the one that got away.
And we are your host. I am Christian.
And I am Damien.
And together, we are going to spend each episode trying to discover which lifestyle truly is best. Is it better to stay close to the roots that raised you, or to fly away into the unknown?
Yep, and during these conversations, we will be discussing personal experiences and asking guests for their input to decide once and for all whether it is better to remain, roam, or return. Oh, the boys are back, baby.
We are back.
What is going on? Hey, Christian, I like your beard. What are you getting ready to donate?
I don't think you can donate beard hair necessarily.
No, that
but
attitude.
No, this is actually a functional purpose because as you know, in Nebraska, the wind hurts your face, like just the air existing. And so honestly, it's just for like when I go running for like protecting my face, like a natural scarf of the face.
See, and that's the difference between you and I. Yours is purely functional, and mine is just to hide the fat double chin.
No, I'm like a seafaring captain. Like,
seafaring. Oh, all right, Captain.
As I live literally the furthest place from an ocean in the entire world.
Yeah, coming from the guy who's double landlocked.
I think it's like triple landlocked.
Triple landlocked. Speaking of which, seafaring, we have another guest from across the pond, another very special guest, Stia from the UK, stand-up comedian. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, it's going fine. How are you guys? All good?
It's fine.
Yeah, we're doing good. Have you ever thought of why do we call it across the pond?
It's not a pond.
It is. It's a very big ocean, like the second biggest ocean.
Yeah, I never heard that phrase before, so I'm not gonna argue.
I have no idea what the fuck you guys are talking about.
What about a pond?
There is not a bluegill or a catfish in sight here, okay? That's awesome. Anyways, yeah, so welcome back to the Remain, Rome, Return podcast, Triple R for short. We are back. I'm Damien. With me, as always, is Captain Christian.
Seafaring Captain Christian.
Yeah, if you ever need to get married, he's your guy. Arr.
And I'm not a pirate.
And Stia. So, all right, let's get into this thing. So, Stia, can you go ahead and, first of all, let anybody who's listening, which is like probably 4 or 5 people, can you let them know where they can find you? What's your social media, stuff like that? Give them a breakdown where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian and content creator. Most of my content or the things that I focus is towards the YouTube channel. So everything can be found under Stia Productions. And I do vlogging, I do stand-up comedy. I have and we talked before, coming to the podcast, starting recording. I've been working on a few projects that will be released soon. So yeah, it's exciting time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so everyone who's listening knows, it's Stia Productions, STEA Productions. Mm-hmm. That's where you can find anything and everything that Stia is working on and releasing. So to get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where were you born? What's your social security number if you have one? Bank account information.
Do you call it a social security number?
Yeah.
In the UK?
Yeah.
Is it still a social? Okay.
Yeah.
See, okay, this is something you're going to have to learn really quick, Stia, is everything I say Christian assumes is wrong. I mean, almost instantly, every time.
Well, am I correct 90% of the time in that you're wrong?
Sure, but I deserve the benefit of the doubt every once in a while.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Anyways.
This is my own ignorance showing, though, Damien, of not knowing if the UK calls it a social security number.
Yeah, and you're just bitter because you always know more about the UK than I do?
I do. Well, I lived there, so.
You do not live there.
I lived
There you go.
Lived.
Let's
there.
hear from the person who actually lives there. So where were you? Where are you from? Where do you live now? Let us know a little bit about you.
I'm from Portugal, the little country that once in a while in the medieval times conquered the world, but then it just went through shit. So yeah, great.
And then it got overran by us Americans real quick.
Yeah, of course, and the English too, but so yeah, it's just like, it's great. It's like, I have some friends that say like, oh, Portugal is the budget if you don't have money to go to Spain, and I'm like, okay, sure. So yeah, I was raised and born in Portugal, and then 6 years ago I decided to move to England, in which now I'm in London or near London, trying to make a career out of the entertainment industry.
Nice.
Jolly old, baby. Jolly old England.
Yeah. No. So what made you make the jump from Portugal to London?
At the time was because of study. I wanted to study law, so it was easier for me to get my grade in here than being accepted in Portugal. They are way demanding than England.
Okay.
So it's just like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to a dumb country that accepts me. That's basically...
You missed out on America, baby. We are the number one. Number one.
Yeah, but it was too expensive to travel there.
Yeah, it is a requirement in America to be dumb and rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a good combo, and me and Damien benefit from that all the time.
So I just like travel to the UK, trying to follow a career on something, and suddenly I found like comedy, and I fell in love with comedy, and the studies are not going anywhere.
Wait, so you said you were studying law?
Yeah, and then I moved because I got bored of it. I moved to cybersecurity and forensics, and graduated like this year or the last year in forensics.
Nice. Yeah. No, that's a good pivot. So yeah, my
very
background,
similar to Christian.
Yeah. No, I have a law degree, but I'm not a lawyer or a
He
solicitor.
is the company lawyer.
Not as I always have to jokingly say, because I never take the exams to be a full lawyer.
Yeah.
But I do have my degree. But now I do. I work for like a tech startup, and so I do a little bit of cyber security, a little bit of compliance, a little bit of risk. So yeah, no, I think that's probably the better move because it is such a big industry now of cyber and forensics for sure, especially because literally everybody gets hacked every day.
Exactly.
And if you're not getting hacked, you are a hack.
Yes.
That's what I always say.
See, I think that's a new slogan for you: the hacker who's a hack.
Yeah, there you
when
go.
You go on stage.
Hey, just let it be known he just called you a hack to your face. I did not. I was saying.
I don't mind.
Speaking of being a hack. Okay, so you were studying law. You didn't like that, so you followed a different path to go into tech, but you didn't like that, so you started comedy. You said that was about six years ago. I also want to point out the fact that your career ambition is better than people's hobbies in America.
Yeah,
like you're like, I don't know, I'm gonna go for law, and then you're like, you know what? I'm not quite feeling this. I'm gonna go to forensics. Yes. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? That is so ambitious. And then you stooped to comedy.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
I love it.
He just really wanted to disappoint his parents.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't need a career path to do that. That came out of the womb like that.
Yeah, they're like, well, this is Damien. His nickname is Disappointment.
Ironically, the same starting letter, so it was really easy.
Damien the Disappointment.
Yeah.
So like Alexander the Great, it's Damien the Disappointment.
And it's perfect because I love alliterations. You know, remain, roam, return, Damien, disappointment. So it's perfect. Yeah. The question I'm trying to get to is, you said you fell in love with stand-up comedy. What made you fall in love with it? Like, is there one comedian or just the thought of it? Like, what happened?
No, I always enjoy watching. I've always been a fan, first and foremost. But going into it, trying for the first time, like the rush into it, And there's like, as we talked as well, like Christian did a little bit of stand-up, so he understands that of like the rush, the adrenaline. It gives you something that is like, is kind of drug addict. It's just like, I need this, I need this. Yep.
I would know nothing about addiction.
No.
So it was a bit of that. It's just like the first time I was a bit afraid and scared, but then like I enjoyed like, oh, I want to have people laughing at my weird shit. So it's just like, yeah.
No, yeah, I definitely get that. Like, definitely the first time I did it, I was like, oh, I remember signing up and then like going up, like they called my name to go up on stage, and I was like, oh, this was not a good decision.
Oh no, I'm not here anymore. I left.
Yep. Who's this Christian guy? Yeah,
Sounds like a real dumbass.
I heard he's real funny though. And then I did it, and luckily I don't know if the group I did it in front of was just very supportive, which was or if I was actually funny, but probably that they were more supportive and were like, oh, which gave me a little bit of confidence to actually be like, oh, maybe I'll keep coming back into the open mics. And so
yeah, it was the first time that I did. I basically went on stage, I was shaking. Then like I performed, like the first time I performed for 70 people straight away.
Wow, that's a lot, actually.
That is a lot.
I'm sorry to say you will not get 70 people watching this episode, but that's okay.
We might.
No. So I went there and I did my 5-minute set. And then I got out, like everyone enjoyed the stuff, but I was shaking like almost I had Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't hold my water bottle, everything. I was like, what is happening here? But because before that, I booked already like 4 gigs straight away before the first one. I was like, I already gave my word, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's when I start gaining the likes of it.
So how long ago was that first open mic or first time you performed?
Around 4 years, 5 years.
4 or 5 years, nice. And
what was where was your first show?
South of the UK.
South of the UK, okay.
Yeah.
Any club in specific that you'd like to shout out, or
no, it was just like a random pub.
Okay.
So yeah.
Little open mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had the pub quiz right after it. No.
Fuck yeah, dude! Trivia nights.
Yeah.
What is up?
No. Yeah. So do you do like open mics or perform mostly in London or like outskirts of London?
I've not thought of it going outside because I'm trying to get my finances right. Because moving to London is a lot expensive.
Yes.
It's the Los Angeles of England.
Yeah.
And New York combined.
And New York, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I always try to do shows abroad. Like Portugal, I did a tour in Portugal, trying to book some gig to do like a tour in Spain, like trying to do a bit of everything, not just in London, but going everywhere whenever I can.
And not to interrupt Christian, but that's exactly what I'm about to do.
You're doing.
Having
a real good question too.
Oh, go for it. Mine's not.
I was just going to ask you. So when you do go Portugal, I'm guessing, do you tell your jokes in Portuguese then, or do you still do English, or like doing like a bilingual kind of thing?
I did a mix of both. I was able to do shows in English and do shows in Portuguese. So
like like separate shows?
Yeah, separate shows.
Wow.
And have you found like are sometimes things funnier when you say them in Portuguese versus English, or even the reverse?
I think it's the opposite for me because I do a lot of word playing in English because one word means so much stuff, and in Portuguese one word means just one word. So it's hard to do that type of joke. When I did like some shows in Portuguese, I did like more storytelling than one-liners because it was hard for me to write one-liners in Portuguese.
Dang, so essentially, you like because of the language barrier, it's actually easier to have 2 separate acts.
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry, I'm trying to. It is pouring rain right now.
Yeah. This is good.
There's been insane wildfires in Los Angeles, and it is pouring rain. So I'm sitting here kind of like, Oh, thank God. Sorry. I heard
And then-
something outside, and I was like, what the fuck is that? Oh,
and then-
it's rain.
Stia over there is like, yeah, it fucking rains every day
Yeah.
here.
Send it over here, bro. Come on. You
He's
guys
like,
are hogging it.
He's like, when we see the sun, we celebrate, not when there's rain.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like I'm trying to do as well, like in a third act that is in Spanish because I want to try to do like South America as well.
Oh,
Right on.
So I wanna, yeah, I'm trying to like kind of enter like the three markets. Like I'm already in the English market, like doing paid gigs, being a regular, having my own nights, but like also enter the other two and doing a little bit of that as well.
How does the comedy scene in Portugal differ from like the London scene?
I feel it's the same way that Americans see like comedy in the UK is like it's still like very newborn baby in terms of
Yeah.
comedy. It's still giving the first step. So it's growing up, like people are enjoying, but it's still like baby steps.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'll be show my ignorance here. Yeah, I don't know many Portuguese comedians. Are there any ones that you would like recommend us checking out that maybe have acts in English? As me and Damien
Besides
do
you,
not...
of course.
Yes.
No, there is one guy that he became super famous as well, and in comedy, like sometimes I message him, it's like every time that I say I'm Portuguese, they mention you. That is like he's doing tours, I think, right now when we're recording this, and maybe when the podcast comes out, he's doing shows in the US as well.
Wow.
As André Freitas, I don't know if you ever heard of that name.
Andre
there is
Freitas?
the Freitas, yeah.
Freitas? Okay.
And he
Making
does
notes.
he does shows in Portuguese, he does shows in English, but mostly he's been known for the shows in English. So it's quite interesting. There is another Portuguese comedian that I think she's performing in Los Angeles or New York. That is Nancy Monteiro,
I don't know
and
if I know him either.
she does a lot of
Oh,
crowd
she?
working as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's my ignorance.
Yes.
yeah.
Women aren't funny.
Canceled.
Yeah, immediately.
So that's as much as like Portuguese comedians that are doing like outside of just Portuguese
Yeah.
stand-up
Okay.
comedy. Yeah.
Okay, so my I actually wanted to go kind of back, as I always say. I want to go back. So we've kind of actually already gotten into your comedy stuff, but I do want to talk about real quick because we've never had anybody from Portugal on the show. And one of the things that we love on this show is talking to people from all over the world, right? And because we've never had anybody from Portugal, I wanted to ask kind of like, what is it like growing up in Portugal? What did your childhood look like? What did you do for fun? Things like that. Like, what did it look like?
Yeah. Like, did you grow up like near the coast? Because a good chunk of it is
No,
on the coast?
I grew up near the mountains. Basically, I was kind of in a remote place, in a small town, in which if you want to take the bus, it's from 6 hours.
Oh
So
my
you
God.
need to schedule your time really well.
Yeah.
So there is not much to do. It was just school and going home and play PlayStation or something like that. There was not a lot. I started doing more when I had my driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I could drive to places and even go to school. I was like, I'm not gonna stay until like 1 to catch the bus again. I'm just driving and come back after. So that and one of the things that I always say about growing up in a small village or town is like everyone knows everyone. So you kinda are like destined to just like follow what people are thinking that you're gonna do because you don't want to change the reputation or damage the reputation that like your parents have in that town, whatever it is. So it's a little bit.
So, and because it's a small town and because everybody knows everybody, did you have like childhood friends that you regularly hung out? Because it seems like you kind of just went home and kind of like stayed at home. But did you have like a neighborhood of friends?
The only friend that I still have, and is one of my best friends, she was like from a town apart from mine. So it was just like we would communicate through Instagram or Facebook at the time. Like not a lot of hangout in person, just like messages.
Yeah, it is interesting too, because like we've had people on this podcast who are from like small town America, and it is interesting to have someone who is from like a small village or town in like Portugal, because that's like I'll say for me and probably for Damien, I'm speaking for Damien as I always do, because I'm right, he's wrong.
Actually, what happens on this podcast is when you actually see me speaking, it's actually him typing it into the AI, and then it comes through me. I'm actually not a real person.
Yep, it's you're just like a fucking muppet. Get my hand up your ass.
Whew. All right. No wonder I feel so good when we do this thing. Hit that prostate, baby. Anyways, Christian, what were you gonna ask? Speaking on my behalf?
Yeah, speaking on your behalf, like I don't think of like Portugal having Smallville. I think of like, Lisbon or the coast or I think you kind of even mentioned the like British tourist spots when people can't afford to go to Spain. And so, or even having mountains in Portugal. Like, can you tell us more about like what the mountains are like?
I think the best way to describe that is just like
big hills.
Well, like are they like?
Yeah, they're just big earth hills.
They're like, are they snowy mountains, or are they like your mountains in LA that just catch on fire?
Well,
it's more that part, the catch on fire. Yeah. No, but I think the best way is like, because I've tried every time that I go there to visit my parents, try to vlog and try to show a little bit of my town and surroundings. I think the best way is that, like, if you're listening to this after the podcast, just head to my YouTube channel and have a look at the vlogs. You will understand what I'm talking about, like small town, like the beauty, the hidden gems of certain places.
Yeah, no, that good shout out I'm definitely gonna check out your YouTube, because I am very curious about these non-snowy fire mountains. So like, does your town have like a signature food? That's like, because me and Damien are big kind of like food people. If we were to come visit your town and take the 6-hour bus ride, where it'd be like, you got to go here. Is there a place like that?
There are nice places, but I wouldn't say there is like a signature food. It's just like more food from all over Portugal. It's not just like a typical, just like, oh, this is the place that is you need to try this. It's just like, yeah, we serve a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Portuguese dish though?
Yes, it's called francesinha, and I don't know if you ever heard of that. And it's kind of like a sandwich with like spicy sauce on top, and the cheese is on top of the sandwich as well. So has a lot of meat inside and cheese, and the sauce, the hot sauce goes on top to melt the cheese, and this kind of like sort of a burger in certain ways.
It's like a burger mixed with like a croque monsieur kind of.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, interesting. I kind of want to try that. Croque monsieur is my favorite sandwich.
I'm gonna guess there's got to be a Portuguese restaurant in LA.
Well,
probably, yeah.
You on that.
There's probably not one in Lincoln, Nebraska that I'm aware of.
Not yet. After this podcast, just wait.
Not a big Portuguese population. I think Omaha has, I think, at least a Spanish restaurant that does like tapas and stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
One.
Just the one, and I think it's called España. Very creative over here.
Yes.
Tell the people exactly what it is. Otherwise, you know, white folk, they get real nervous real quick.
They don't know España means Spain and Spanish.
They go, ooh, that sounds ethnic.
Ooh, there's a little mark above the E. That must be authentic.
They call it an umlaut. I'm like, that's not what that is. Actually, speaking of umlaut, what do you think of Elon Musk? No, I'm just kidding. My heart goes out to all of you. You know, how many languages do you speak?
Uh, I can speak a little bit of Italian, but it's shit Italian. It's more like with translator app, and it's like I can pronounce the words.
Yeah.
I can speak the basic of Spanish. Like I grew up, like my town is near the border with Spain, so I grew up with Spanish.
Right.
But at the same time, I lost contact with it as they went by. So now trying to get back and trying to do stand up with it as well is a way to return to the roots of enjoying Spanish language. Speaking Portuguese and English, I think that's about it. I try to learn Romanian too,
Ooh.
but
That's a unique one.
yeah, no, even the Romanians, I have some friends, they said like, why are you learning this?
We
So-
speak English.
He just
Basically.
really wants to hit that Romanian comedy scene that
Of
we've all
course.
been talking. It's the hottest market right now.
You know, I really want to hit the Balkans.
Was more for the woman, but sure, okay, let's go for
That was gonna be my guess. It's always for a girl.
Oh, you're funny. That was my Balkans accent.
Just
Yeah.
very offensive.
Of course. Again, my heart goes out to you.
Yes. Do you, jumping forward, I guess a little bit. Could you ever see yourself going back to Portugal, or is London the place?
I'm not sure if London is the place, but I'm not going back to Portugal, that's for sure. I hate it.
Oh, wow. Damn. Shots fired.
Yeah.
Nothing against like Portuguese people. I have a lot of people that I know that are Portuguese, especially my parents and family.
Shout out, parents.
Yeah, you're cool. Fuck the rest of Portugal, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't enjoy the culture. I feel like everyone is nice on your front, but then like when you go doing something, they talk shit on your back. That's my perspective of Portugal.
Oh,
Of
so
all around.
it's just Omaha, Nebraska. Okay, it's just the Midwest of America. Everybody always says we're so nice, and all we do is talk shit about you. Okay,
Yes.
I get
Yeah.
that.
So it's just like I enjoy more of places like maybe no one knows me and they can walk on the street without no one knowing me and judging me and that sort of stuff.
So how soon until you move to New York then?
If I have the money, maybe.
Yeah.
Because that's what New York is really good at, being very aggressive, but also you just live in obscurity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like famous people walk around New York all the time, and people are like, "Hey," and then they're like, "Hey," and then they just move on. You know what I mean? Whereas in a lot of other places, if you're famous, good luck. You're gonna
Yeah.
get shot in the back like a CEO.
Yeah, but but to be honest, I'm thinking more if I move somewhere else and like I can still do comedy and drive for comedy gigs. Just like probably Ireland. It seems like a
Yeah.
peaceful place with a lot
It
of
is.
mountains that I can just go for a hike every time.
And what do those
And-
mountains look like?
I don't know, mountain.
They're nice and green.
Nice and lush.
There's now a third option between snow, fire. Now we have green.
Yeah.
We love
And
Ireland,
there is-
by the way.
There is not a lot of people, I hope. So it's good.
So there was this thing where England took all the potatoes.
There's probably more Irish people in America than there are in Ireland at this point.
Technically, yeah, I think that is a thing because and that's how
Spitting
Damien's
facts.
family got here.
What it do?
Yeah. No, I've heard really good things about Ireland. And yeah, it's gotta be interesting because not to get political, but I guess somewhat political. Of like when you came to the UK, it was in the EU.
Yeah.
You came before Brexit, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like
Oh, I didn't think about that.
yeah. So has that been interesting, like for you, or like I don't want to discuss your immigration status?
No, it's not. It's
Are
not
you
been
legally allowed to be in the?
Let me speak on behalf of the
I'm
royalty.
sounding a little too American now.
No, I never had a
God
problem
rest the queen.
because like when I came here, I was in a like sort of a student visa sort
Oh,
of
yeah.
thing, And then, like, because Portugal has always been the longest friendship with England, I never had a problem of like applying for a long-term visa and the immigration stuff. So
Yeah.
What does that look like? Do you have to have like how do they make sure that your ed words are hard. I don't know, what does it look like? Yeah, what does it look like to be able to stay there? What do you have to do? What are the
just basically
prerequisites?
send a bunch of documents proving that you're living here, that you had work, or that you had like some sort of living experience, that you're not just here illegally, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the best way to say it. So
And
yeah,
so the way that you do that is through your stand up and your vlogging?
no, that through the job side hustle that I do, unfortunately.
Okay.
The one that pays the bills.
Yes.
No. So is the dream to eventually, like, I think it is for everyone who does comedy, and even us who are doing this podcast, like, get good enough at it and well known enough to like not have a real job or a quote unquote real job.
Yes. That's the simple answer. Yes, because it the corporate world, I feel that's like, especially corporate world, it's just like most of the people that are your bosses, they don't know what they are sending you to do. They're just like, oh, this person before me did this, so now you're doing this, and they're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need to obey to someone that basically can or can't like get their own house in proper way, and now they are making changes in this company? That does make sense.
Yeah, and I like the UK, of course, has, especially London, a little bit of like a housing crisis, which I feel like is everywhere and everything.
Yeah.
And like, I know wages in London don't meet how much it costs to live in London a lot of the times now, and so.
Yeah, that's also the other thing about corporate America too, is it's like, God forbid you be yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nobody hires you based off of who you are as a person. Everyone hires you based off of how much you lied in the interview.
Yes.
That's
You
true.
know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest frustration that I know Christian and I have, is just like, who we are on this podcast, ironically, is pretty close to who we are in real life. I mean, we sometimes we dial it up here and there, for the sake of entertainment. But for the most part, the jokes that we make, the way that we converse with people, even you, I mean, this is our first time meeting you, and it's just like, we're just shooting the shit, having fun, making each other laugh. And it's like, God forbid you ever do that in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do any of your coworkers know about your comedy, or do you keep that more under wraps?
At the moment, I'm unemployed, so no co-workers know about.
Yeah.
There is no co-workers.
Yeah.
Since I moved to near London, it's been hard to find jobs. So I'm just doing like part-times here, like some gigs here and there, and trying to get as much as I can. But it's been hard to find a job, because most jobs, even with a degree, they ask you to like do from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that for a minimum salary. No.
Yeah, especially like it's in the way of comedy too, and so no, it's with especially because I can kind of get in the way of. It sounds like you do tour internationally at this point too, of like going to Portugal and Spain and. Maybe one day Romania, hit up that Romanian.
I have
God willing.
I have some offers to go there, but I'm just saving the money first till then, trying to finance all.
Did you go about setting up the gigs in like Portugal or Spain or like any other countries? Like, did someone reach out to you, or did you reach out to them and be like, hey, can I perform? Or how'd that, because that's really interesting to me, of like finding, especially a different country.
Yeah. No, I basically, like, I put like my third special, and I put it out. I had some people from Portugal reaching out, but also like I had a friend that I admire, like a comedian that I admire in Portugal, that I reach out, and we've been friends since then. We did some collabs back in the past, and since then I was just like, oh, okay, I want to do something in Portugal. Which places do you recommend? Which people do I contact? And so I try to build around that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I guess do you have like opening acts, or is it usually just you when you're doing those shows, or is there someone local who
some of
opens
them
up for you?
some of them is me opening for like big act. So they just like put me in like in the middle of like someone big already, and like I give like sort of an example, not mentioning names because I don't think there is a point, but but like I had the opportunity when I went to Portugal to open for like people that I grew up watching when I was.
Wow, that's really cool.
So I
you should
got
definitely
like
name names.
Yeah. We might not know them, but
yeah, I don't think they will listen to this.
Yeah, nobody does.
Yeah, they just stick to like comedy in Portugal, and that's about it. Like everything in Portugal, so just. But yeah, I had the opportunity to like those friends put me in contact, and it's like, oh, we're gonna do this festival. Do you want to open for them? I'm gonna do this. Do you want to do that? So there is one specific that I opened for their specials. They recorded a special.
Oh wow,
so,
nice.
That's a little bit of pressure on you to not kill the mood.
And was my first time trying in Portuguese, so it was kind of fun. I did 5 minutes, and like that went so horrible, and was in front of 300 people. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I could have chosen a better place to start doing it Portuguese.
So go for it.
No, I was going to ask, what's the biggest crowd size you think you've performed in front of?
I think was that one, like 300 people. Yeah.
And
so are you?
You go. You just go. I'm done. I'll be quiet. We're now going to split time between me and Damien of asking question. Damien, now your 5 minutes starts now, and then I'll make a. And then
I was just going to ask.
My 5 minutes starts.
Are you generally doing like? So do you have a type 5 set, or are you generally? So some of them are going to be 5 minutes, some of them are 15, depending on like. Do you have a set? Bit?
It depends. It depends on the like in Portuguese. It depended on what they gave me. I was like, okay, I can try to write something if there is a need. Like I did like one comedy festival that was like in my town, and they basically at the beginning they said like, oh, you can do 20. So I had to maybe try to write something, but like in the day it rained a lot, so when we went on stage they shortened the time to everyone. So I just did 10.
Okay.
So it was kind of nice, but most of them were just like 10s and 5s and doing a bit of that.
Yeah, so
I still have 4 minutes. See that? He gave me 5 minutes, and then after 35 seconds, was steamrolling me.
You took a long pause.
I didn't know if he was done talking.
He clearly was.
Anyway, so in that regard, when you because it seems to change a lot between like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, whatever. Are you getting the amount of time ahead of time to where you can then write more? Or are you kind of just going, all right, I have a solid 5 that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to follow it up with some crowd work? Or like, how do you bridge the gap between so many different minutes?
I basically, when I planned the stuff, I planned with 3 months in advance. So I already knew the time way beforehand to start writing and prepare. I don't do crowd work, or if I do crowd work, it's like sort of hypothetical crowd work. It's not exactly crowd work. It's just like me trying to prove a point. That is like, I'm not going to do crowd work. This is just like trying to do a parody of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't like crowd working. I just enjoy like writing jokes and trying to bring abstract concepts. That's normally what I do.
And I actually have a question about crowd work, because it does seem like outside of the United States, a lot of people from different countries hate crowd work. Can you go into like, do you hate it? What's the What's your philosophy on crowd work? Because it seems very, very popular here, but not so much elsewhere.
In my end, I will just say that I don't care enough for people to ask questions. That's about it. And I've said that on stage. There is people that is like, oh, try to interact. I'm like, no, I don't care. I don't care for people. I'm not going to pretend that I care. I don't give a shit. I just want to do my script. I want to write as much as I can and do my thing. I don't. But if I have like an idea for something, I can give an example of something that I tried to do recently that is not going anywhere. But I try to like bring someone on stage and hold the microphone, and after that I just said like, this is as much as crowd work I do, and let them go back to the seat. That's the type of crowd work I do, is like abstract stuff, just making fun of like, oh, I'm not gonna ask if you're married or something. I just truly don't care. Like,
so you don't utilize it as like a segue into a new bit or anything. You kind of just, you're like, I know exactly what my premises are going to be. I know exactly what my bits are. I know exactly how much time I have. I'm just going to go do that.
yeah, I just normally the segue is just like me saying, okay, here's another topic. I don't care. Deal with it. Oh, I was talking about crowds. Now I'm talking about toilets. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's my mood. Just trying to write as much. Sometimes I try to make some segue to make it a sort of a story. Other times it's like, I can't be bothered. It's so diverse, the topics. No, I'm not going to put effort into this.
Yeah, you're like, you're at a comedy show. Just deal with what comes at you.
Yeah.
Okay. I relinquish my 5 minutes.
Your time. Your. No. Yeah. I was gonna. We were talking to a someone from India, and he mentioned how a lot of Indian comedy audiences do not want any crowd at work at all. They want to go and hear the jokes. They're like, kind of like you were joking about. You're like, I don't care about anyone else in this room except the comedian telling the jokes, and like, we're here to hear the jokes and not hear about the person in the front row's marriage going bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And that guy from India, sorry to cut you off, Sia, but the guy from India specifically said, we all paid about the same price to be here, so why should one or two people from the crowd get to pay the same price as me and have a 100% interaction with the comedian? So is that kind of where you're coming from with that too?
Yes, and also like every time that I go see a show, I'm like, just do your thing. Like, you're getting paid to do this. Just put effort. Like the crowd work, I feel like is a little bit a hack. It's just like, okay, I don't have material, so I'm just gonna try to come up with something. Just write stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's so. Have you heard of that? So he's a fairly big comedian here in the States, but his name's Matt Rife.
Yeah.
But like that is his whole shtick. Is he doesn't really write jokes. He only does crowd work. And he kind of got famous just because of only doing crowd work.
Yeah, there is people that enjoy it. I'm just like, I just enjoy it. Goes back to what we said off camera, like me and you, Kristen, about like the UK comedy scene and everything. Is just like, it's a little bit more intellectual, I feel. It's just not a lot of like, oh, I'm gonna ask this person. It's just like, no, I'm gonna write jokes. Yeah. That's what is a bit, I feel, and I love this comedian that is Anthony Jeselnik. Mm-hmm. Like, I enjoy it. Like, he's doing jokes. He's not interacting. He's doing jokes. And that's what comedy should be, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think it's also because, from my perspective, when crowd work's bad, it's really bad. Or like people, like I've seen some comedians come through where like, they have like a 30 minutes to do a set, but they only have like really 20 to 25 minutes material. Yeah. So they're trying to fill the gap in with just like crowd work. And it's just like, you can clearly tell being like, oh, you just don't have the chops to get to that half an hour mark. You're puttering out before that time hits.
But also like you have the example of like Dave Attell. It's just like, he's doing crowd work, but also like joke. He writes jokes, and it's just like, yeah, if you segue to a joke, okay, that's fine. But he's just like, oh, well, I'm just fulfilling this. And people are paying for it. It's just like, man, just write stuff.
There is some comedians I've also known who do crowd work, but it's more of like it doesn't necessarily have to be a particular person in the crowd. It's how he does his segue. Like he knows, like, someone in the crowd's going to be married, and then like we'll go into his bit about being married. So it's like it's a weird hybrid combo, but it works for him really well. And so how do you handle hecklers then if you don't really do crowd work?
I don't do crowd work, but when I need to do, I do it. I just don't like it. So, I have a couple. Again, this goes back to YouTube. I have a couple out there that people can check it out, like how I handle. But normally, I just say to them, is like, just shut the fuck up. Like, I'm here, you are there. If you don't want to be there, just go out. Just go have a burger. Do something useful with your life. Don't stay here. So then that normally like gets a laugh or something, and it's just like, okay, that's about it.
Damien, do you have a poltergeist in your home?
I do now. What the fuck is going on there?
The funniest thing is Damien was like, "Oh, there we go." He's like,
"There we
you
go."
Can't even really see the sign, and then now I can really see it.
Do you see it now?
Well, my initial reaction was like, "Oh, I guess my 5 minutes are up."
Yeah, shut the fuck up, dude. If you don't want to be here, go get a burger or something.
He gave me the light. Theo will understand when you get the light when you're doing comedy. You're like, oh, gotta tell that one last joke to sneak it in real quick.
No, I actually planned that because I had something to say about crowd work.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say real quick. So I know kind of you and Christian kind of have a very similar outlook on crowd work, and Christian and I are very familiar with each other's preference on comedy. But I feel like nowadays, crowd work is so popular because there's so many comedians now and we're in the age of social media where you really can't necessarily put up clips of your bits because then people go to see you and they go, oh, well, this guy's just fucking repeating material. And so what they do now is they do 5 or 10 minutes of crowd. Because for instance, I saw Sam Morril live. I go to a lot of live comedy, but they utilize the crowd work as clips for social media because they don't want to give out their bits. Yeah. Because what happens a lot of times is they're going on these big tours and then they go and they do a bit that was posted on social media. And people are like, oh, you fucking hack. You're just repeating material. Because a lot of people still, as famous as comedy is now, they still don't understand that a set of comedy is an act. It is a pre-prepared set of jokes that are proven to work. It's a script. And so what they do now is because they still get so much shit for repeating jokes, a lot of these people like Sam Morril, Mark Normand, all of these guys will only post clips of crowd work because they can't post bits. Yeah. And so that's where I'm at with crowd work. Is it's like, are you promoting your shows or are you only a crowd work guy?
Yeah. Right? Like for me, it's like I write a lot, and then it's like when I have something that is like, oh, I can put this like as a short video on YouTube or something, then I promote those short jokes or jokes on Instagram, TikTok. That's how I do it. It's just like if it's ready to be on YouTube and I'm already bored of the material, it goes there, and then like I post the clip. But again, everyone has a different way of doing it. It's just like if it helps crowd work and people enjoy it. I just feel that there is a lot of people that say they do crowd work, but it's not exactly crowd work. Yeah. So it's just like,
Yeah, and to echo what Christian said too, bad crowd work is horrible.
It's so bad. I've seen a lot of bad at open mics.
Oh yeah, but great crowd work, I think, in my opinion, and this is where I'll kind of be the scapegoat here. Good crowd work where they are very, very great at it is like, that's more impressive to me than being a great stand-up.
Yeah.
Because being able to go to the crowd, interact with them at a moment's notice, I feel like proves that you're a great writer and you're a great stand-up, because it's like, no matter what, I can write great jokes. I can be quick off the cuff. It's like you're kind of showcasing exactly what all of stand-up comedy is. Because if you can't handle hecklers, If you can't do some great clever crowd work, you're only relying on writing, which is
Yeah.
great. That's fantastic, but that's all you have is, okay, I can sit down for 6 hours a week and write. But this shows, like you said, David Tell. He's one of the most prolific writers of all time.
No.
But he can go up, and if you start heckling him, you will get destroyed.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like the opposite, where I'm like, I like good crowd work. I love it. It's very, very interactive.
I like it when it's done properly, but again, it's just like is what you said is, and like going to like what I do as well. I'm not just a stand-up comedian. I'm booking events. I'm dealing with the getting the act on the bills and the night.
Right.
Is it like most of the time there is a lot of people that I book that is just like, okay, this is vanilla comedy. This is easy for every crowd, or this person can just improvise, and that saves me time because it's just like, okay, whatever crowd comes there, they can improvise on the spot. That's great. They might not be the best writers, but they can improvise and make a great show. And we have diversity that way in terms of comedy in the bill. So I always try to go for that, for a little bit of everything.
Do you have like some comedians in the UK that you've done multiple shows with, or like you kind of are like buddies with, where you kind of help each other out, or like spit jokes off of, or anything like that?
Yeah, we have like I'm trying, and that's with my nights, creating my nights, producing my own nights and events. I'm trying to create that community that helps like not just the amateur one, but also like the semi-professional and the professional. Trying to get that network done.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how did you notice like the environment there in the US, but here I feel that is like you have the amateur in one side and you have the semi-professionals alone in another side, and the professionals are way beyond. So I'm trying to bring those, all of it, and trying to help everyone of like, how do you progress for the next stage? How do you do to get to the next stage? And trying to create a community around comedy and comedians.
Yeah, and it is interesting for you. Like, I know Damien, we've joked about him doing comedy, but it's also, it was much easier for me to start comedy because I started in Des Moines, Iowa, which is like not a small city where it's very easy to, but versus like even like, yeah, Lucia and Damien, like starting in major cities would terrify me to do an open mic, kind of, because you're sometimes like I visited the lights go. God damn it, Damien! I just started talking. Why is the light going off? The for listeners, I guess we did not explain that Damien has a light up neon sign behind him that says on air.
It says Ria no.
Reno. It's like you're trying to say my last name and just butchering it.
I'm trying to break up the clogs of this fucking podcast like Drano.
But like at any given time in LA, if you go to an open mic, you know, kind of how you were talking about, there'll be the young people who've the first people doing it. But then like it could be, for example, I think Damien, you saw like David Tell will just show up to an open mic, or like you might have some of these huge comedians come and like perform. Have you seen that happen where, you know, someone really famous actually comes to an open mic?
Yeah, in the UK, I've had some cases that I'm not going to mention names because I feel that they are shit as a person. And they are good comedians, don't take me wrong, but as people, they are shit people.
Yeah.
And it's just like those types of comedians that's like, because they are big and they have a platform, they're like, oh, I can just be there, bump everyone, just go do a show, and I don't not care about the rest. Just like, man, just respect the rest. Everyone is trying to get somewhere. And there is a lot of people don't have that detail, that attention, and I don't like. I don't like when other people feel that they are bigger than the rest. It's just like, we are in the same boat. Let's just help each other.
Yeah. No. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is like, especially like, I'm not sure from your experience, from like my experience for open mic, sometimes it's like first come, first serve, like first serve, like you like show up an hour before the open mic starts and you write your name down on a list, and then you're like, well, or like sometime one of the clubs open mics I would perform at, like, because I was newer, I wouldn't perform until like 1 a.m. and would have to wake up and go to my 9 to 5 job the next day, and I was like, this is not sustainable. I need to find somewhere else to go. Or like sometimes it's like drawing out of a hat. And so, what's your experience been with open mics?
Most of them, especially here, you need to fulfill like some sort of forms and apply for it, and kind of like the signing stuff. But the way that I'm trying to do is just like I contact people directly because it makes them feel important and that like their work is valuable.
Yeah.
So I just try to reach to everyone, either like an amateur that started a few gigs ago or something. It's just like, oh, I see potential. I've seen them perform, or someone recommended them. Like, okay, yeah, come perform. I have these open mics, trying to make some professional nights, trying to do a little bit of everything that helps everyone.
Yeah, that's great.
So I actually wanted to, because we're getting towards the hour mark. Not that that's the end by any means, but I did want to kind of go back to the theme of the podcast a little bit and talk about maybe. So you were born and raised in Portugal, and that actually makes me think about, because you're so close to so many like bucket list travel places. What did vacations look like for you growing up?
Basically, it was just like my parents saying like, oh, we're gonna do a trip of 1 hour for a beach. Just that's it. And me hating that thing, because it's like I hate beaches. So it's just like, oh, why do I need to be exposed to the sun? I hate it.
Well, if you don't want to be anywhere near a beach ever, let me tell you about the state called Nebraska.
Yeah.
So not sure what your U.S. geography is, but Nebraska that's where me and Damien are from, and where I live. Literally the very middle of America, like in every direction imaginable. Very
the
middle,
center,
very center, like directly between distance wise of like New York and L.A. Very middle.
Yeah.
No
and
beaches.
So no beaches at all. And so you were mentioning that it's generally like an hour to the beach or whatever like that. Can I ask you too, because Christian grew up like lower middle class. I grew up like lower class. Did you only travel to the beaches like an hour away because of income, or were you guys just not big travelers?
More like my family is more like middle class, not like big middle class, but like reasonable middle class. And no, they didn't like to travel as much. And their idea of going on holiday is going to a shopping mall. So it's just like, yeah, no, I hate that. Let's go do something fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the beach was the close to like, oh, we're not going to the shopping mall, or we're going to the beach first and then the shopping mall.
Yeah.
And so because of that was kind of traveling in your youth, can I ask you, like, are you much of a traveler now? Do you go on vacations? Do you go different places?
Yeah, I enjoy, but I enjoy more like hiking or just like going to obscure places, like places that have like a morbid history attached to it. So I enjoy more that than like, oh, I'm just going to the same tourist stuff that everyone goes. It's just like, I find that boring. I don't want to queue to go see something.
Yeah. So do you have
all of London?
Exactly.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I'm assuming you don't travel around London much to go see stuff.
I travel, but it's just like the cool stuff that there is not a lot of people, because they go to the Big Ben, to the London Bridge, and I'm like, there is so much stuff that you don't see it, that is fascinating, and it's cool to research and go see it. But yeah, that's normally what I try to search. Is just like, I even can give an example of like that people find not a typical attraction to visit, but it's like the catacombs in Paris. I'm so fascinated to go there, and I'm just like, this seems fascinating. Seems a good day.
They're also terrifying in the respect of like I went to the catacombs of Paris and Rome, and they're like, don't lose the group because you might die down here. And I was like, I don't want to be part of the wall. They're gonna put me in the wall. But it's I bet London has some really good, like you said, you like kind of like morbid, not morbid, but I think you did say morbid. I'm gonna
Definitely
say you
morbid.
said morbid.
Yeah.
Because of like all the stuff that has happened in London because it is just so old of a city.
Yeah. And so, do you have a favorite vacation that you've ever been on? Like, can you give something that we do on this podcast is we give recommendations to a lot of things. Do you have a recommendation of like what was your favorite vacation, or where would you recommend people go?
For example, in London, I enjoy a lot Bournemouth. That is like the south of UK. Has beaches as well, but is more of a park, green park as well.
Yeah.
A lot of green areas, and it's just enjoyable to walk around. Portsmouth, I lived there for 5 years. I enjoyed every bit of it.
A lot of seagulls, though.
Yeah.
I saw a video today of a seagull eating a squirrel.
What?
It freaked me out.
Where did he get a squirrel from?
I don't know, but I thought the scariest thing about seagulls was when you go to the local shack and get like a little burger to eat on the
fries.
beach. Yeah, and they come around, and the second you look over here, you're like, "Hey, it's raining." They will just take the burger right out of your hand. But no, they eat squirrels apparently, so that's cool.
That's terrifying. That's terrifying.
Another places that I would think, like especially England-wise, is just like places that have history, like Cambridgeshire. That is like a lot of history. You can go around, you can understand what happened, like study a little bit. I enjoy that sort of visit. Also, like if anyone wants to go to Portugal, I would say Porto and the north is the best to go because like the food and like the views that you have as well.
That's a good recommendation.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, because I've never. Damien, have you been to Portugal?
Let me check. No.
Do you have a map above your desk?
I do.
Yeah, no, I've always joke. Even though I was joking about the seafaringness of my beard, I like explorers of like nautical explorers, and like Portugal was one of the big people who went, and I now understand they would just really wanted to leave Portugal because it sucked now.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, so that's one because they have like a nautical museum. I think it's in Lisbon, but
And then one of the last questions that I always like to ask on the podcast is, given you're from Portugal, you live in the UK now, you have some recommendations of people, go and visit. If there was one place on earth that you could live, like money, family, none of that stuff is in the equation. It's just like best case scenario, it's just you. Where would you live anywhere on earth?
I would say like Portsmouth because I got attached to it while I was studying, but because like of the comedy scene of performing, I thought of leaving just because I had to travel a lot to go to places to perform, and it was just too tiring. But I truly enjoy it. It's like a peaceful place. You have the sea. Again, it goes against what like I don't like, but it's just
different
like
kind of beach though.
Yeah. I think it's not, maybe it's because it's not as much tourists over there, just local people. There's a lot of green spaces, and I enjoy that. It was peaceful to be there, just like calm place. Bournemouth would be one of those as well because, again, it's peaceful. It's like for me, the idea is just like it's peaceful. I can be relaxed. I don't have the stress of a city like London. The center of London is just too chaotic.
Yeah. Now you want to be able to take a nice stroll along the canals and see a swan. They're scary.
Absolutely. And then the only other thing that I was going to ask, and then I'll pass it off to Christian before we close out, but given that you've traveled already so much for comedy, are you looking into, or is there any possibility in the near future of you coming to America to perform?
Yes. I have quite a huge fan base from what is my numbers of Americans, which I would love to do, but it's just finance-wise, it's just too hard to. It's a lot of hours. Also, like working a normal day job is just like you need to take at least to be worthy of your time, like at least 2 weeks off. And it's like a lot of money to travel, to pay an hotel to stay. So it's just like, I have other places that I want to perform before trying to make into the US.
That actually, before I pass it to Kristen, that actually spawned a question. Are you entitled to the same amount of like time off as UK residents are? Because UK residents get insane amounts of time off.
I have no idea, but I think like at least you get 2 years. I think it's 2 years of going to the US like that, and then you need to renew again like that sort of visa or paperwork.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I meant like your
Like
job
like holiday
allows you,
leave.
yeah, holiday leave.
It's around 30 days most of them, so
30
it's
days.
not a much.
Wait,
Okay,
you say that's in the U.S. Me and Damien are like that is so much.
that's a lot. Yeah, we get
You're,
like a week and a
I
half usually.
yeah, 10 days is I would say about average of
Yeah.
holiday time. And so yeah, you're like, oh, 30, it's not that much. We're like, that's a whole
No,
month. No,
especially if you're gigging, it's not that much because the booking is just like basically you can book 30 gigs elsewhere and it's just like, yeah, okay, the holidays are over.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. That is true.
that's true.
Especially if you're traveling. So
Yeah.
no, I think the only question I have is I know you shouted out your socials. Any shows or anything you talked about some projects coming up that you want to shout out that we can add to like the description of this episode?
Yeah, I like in this day that we are recording this, I've edited another sort of special, sort of like comedy special. So I'll be releasing it tomorrow or on the next few days. When you're listening, this probably is already on YouTube. So, and yeah, I've already like with this one coming up like 4 specials, comedy specials, trying to put material out, trying to. They are short specials, but still, it's a lot of work. It might be like around 40 minutes of material in 4 years.
So good.
That's great.
So trying to put that like vlogging wise, I'm trying to contain myself and trying to do more like live music event review sort of because sometimes just to take some fresh air, I go to like death metal concerts and I enjoy it.
Me too,
So
brother.
Yeah, you do.
so yeah, always fun and it when I always try to record something with my phone. So I was like, why I don't use this sort of footage to try to talk about like the stage lights, all the like the technical side that most reviewers don't do.
Yeah,
So
that'd be really interesting.
so I have some of them that I've went to see in London. I went to see Sleep Token.
Nice. Fuck yeah.
I
Love that.
went to see now in recent days like Infected Rain. I don't know if you know them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, some of them I'm trying to like bring those reviews whatever I can take from the videos. If it's like, oh, this video can be useful without putting the music on, just to avoid copyright, and just trying to create something in general.
Yeah.
So
Well, you got a fan in me because death metal, deathcore, all that shit is my number one. So anytime you post shit like that, I will definitely be tuning in. And anybody else who wants to tune in to any of your videos or your material, shout it out one more time.
Tia Productions, that's where all the links are. It's just YouTube. Just head yourself there. In the description, there is the Patreon. There is all of that stuff. But just subscribe, and then if you enjoy more than that, just go for the extra. But mostly, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that is going to be it for today. Stia, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It was a blast. A little bit of laughs, a little bit of cries, a little bit of malfunctions of whatever this fucking thing is doing right here.
Yep.
Those are ghosts.
Those are ghosts.
Yep.
Yep.
Poltergeist.
Yeah, it's the dead people of LA that have burned to the ground. So with that, we are going to go ahead and cut that. But we're going to go ahead and say
Bye.
bye.